Welcome to our Thursday night segment, Voice of the People, where your voice really matters tonight, where we get into your comments, questions, and everything that you have left for us on our social media pages. Speaking of our social media, if you have not already been to our YouTube page, we're asking you to go over there, subscribe, like, click the bell. That way, when we come on the air, you'll know that we're on there, and when we post anything on there, you'll be first to be notified. Tonight, we're going to hear your voice about our conversation on poverty. And we're going to start off real quick with Jill. If you could read the first comment that we got from some of our people on our conversation of poverty.
Absolutely. We appreciate all of the interaction, the comments, and the shares. So these comments come from the video last night as well as some of our social media posts. Kelvin says, welfare benefits create a harmful culture of psychological dependence. A study found that welfare recipients are deprived of positive feelings of self-worth after receiving such handouts. Feelings that are necessary to function in society at full capacity. Lack of self-esteem contributes to a lack of motivation and a diminished desire to move up in life. Research from a Yale study corroborates these findings. Even former President Obama, an advocate for social benefits, cited his own evidence of welfare.
Wow, that's a lot. We want to thank Kel with that. But what I got out of that, and we talked about this most recently when we were talking about, the extra benefits, the stimulus and everything. A lot of jobs are now saying that they can't hire people because people don't want to work. They got all these extra benefits and, things such as that. So I do believe sometimes when you overdo it in anything, and like this with welfare and poverty, you get people comfortable sitting at home and making money for free. Well, I got to get out there and hit that clock.
So, man, I really want to let's tear this apart that Kel shared with us. Okay. So the first thing it says is welfare benefits create a harmful culture of psychological dependence.
Mm-hmm.
Welfare benefits create a harmful culture of psychological dependence.
Yes, sir.
That's powerful.
It's accurate.
It's accurate, but when we say it's creating that, how?
How does it create a
How does a system that is supposed to be for the good, to help those that need help, how does it create a psychological dependency on that system?
Because first of all, I know it's there. That is the first dependency. I can use it because it's there. We talked about food stamps. I mean, you can be on food stamps forever and a day if you wanted to. So how did it depends. And we talked about it last night as well. I think Jill mentioned this. Like, think about it. The single mother that wants to work or tries to work, but then they cut all the other benefits where she can't afford to work. So what does she have to do? She just has to get back on welfare to maintain and survive. So it makes her needy and dependent on welfare, so she can't approve beyond herself.
So I'm going to go a different way. I agree with everything you said, but I'm also going to use a single mother. And in a lot of ways, welfare has created that psychological issue because it has replaced a man in the house many of the times. So looking back, I mean, if you have all of these benefits, what do you need this for? So it does create a dependence. It also takes away, it becomes a substitute for motivation or will or drive or anything. It's pretty much just settling. And when you settle for anything, that creates psychological issues, the self-esteem that was mentioned. But I also believe that it was created to do exactly that.
Okay.
If you make people dependent on something, it's very hard to get off of it. I mean, it's no different than being a drug addict or being a gambler. When you're dependent, you stay. You stay in a place until something makes you tired enough to get out of that place.
Okay, so I listen to both of you. I still don't get it. Like, literally, welfare benefits create a harmful culture of psychological dependence. The next part says a study found that welfare recipients are deprived of positive feelings of self-worth after receiving handouts.
That one, I can tend to disagree with that point.
I mean, but do you see, this is a study from a major university.
Yes.
On the feelings or how they They've done the research,
Yes.
and a study found that welfare recipients are deprived of positive feelings of self-worth after receiving handouts.
And I can disagree with that.
I agree.
I
I
can
agree
disagree
with
with
the
that.
statement.
No, I can disagree because I know firsthand.
Why you disagree, C.
I know
Stacks?
firsthand. Some people, I mean, legitimately are satisfied with getting their benefits, and it does not have anything to do with their self-worth. They automatically know that those benefits are there. It doesn't bother them that they're getting those benefits. It's not a self-worth. I know firsthand, and I've seen it firsthand, that people are not, you don't see people, oh, whoa, it's me, I'm getting welfare. No, it's like, I'm getting X amount of dollars in food stamps. I'm about to go get these crab boils. I'm about to go get these lobster tails. I'm about to go get crab legs. I mean,
So you're saying they're positive in the hustle.
yes,
So they're hustling the system.
yes,
But
Is that
with-
what you're saying?
yes.
Okay.
With that being said, I feel the opposite. I feel like if you are on all of these benefits when you're totally capable, that you have no self-worth. Because why would you be in that position if you had self-worth and self-love? I mean, I just don't see it. I agree with that statement
Well,
wholeheartedly.
and I still got to disagree, and I'm gonna flip it to this because there are certain people that are working, and they're working real jobs, and they're trying to improve their situation. It's just that their job's not paying them enough, so they have to, supplement what they're not making, and it doesn't make them feel bad. It just that they understand that they're not getting enough, and instead of being in a deprivation, I'm just going to use what helps me supplement that I'm not in a further deprivation.
Okay, let me ask you this, Clarence.
So before you jump in, Jill, so C. Stats, you're saying that there's no dependency there at all. Out the gate, they know what they're doing.
Yes.
So not dependent. I'm utilizing it because it's there and I can get
Right.
it.
Right.
Okay, Jill, go ahead.
So most of the people that are on welfare, you're saying, are people that work and just need a little bit of help.
I didn't say most. I said there's some people.
Because when I speak on it, I more or less am thinking of those who have used it for a crutch or have used it as a lifestyle instead of something to pull you out of a time in which you need help. So I think that's the category that I'm speaking of because we all understand that you fall in hard times and that's what it's for at times. But I'm talking about those who have turned it into an absolute lifestyle, who have settled. They'll never have anything other than their rent paid. They'll never have this. They'll never have that. They'll never have anything extra, but they're complacent with exactly what they have.
Well, and I still got to defend against that point because think about it. Welfare, and I think it's the illusion that people get about welfare. Now, think about it. There are elderly people that worked a good portion of their lives for some reason. Now, some jobs didn't have pensions or, it could have been a medical thing that wiped out their pension, their 401k or whatever. Now they're on Social Security and they are getting the bare minimum. And it's not like, I'm sad that I'm getting it. It's that at least I'm getting something. But yes, I understand about the people, the mindset that just want to sit at home and they don't want to. There are some, and it says in here where James says, lack of motivation or diminished desire to move up. There are some people that just say, well, I'm good where I am.
Right.
There are those people. But for the most part, I'm not saying everybody that receives welfare, they're at the poverty level, but they're not impoverished. They're just not able to get over that hump.
Let me take you guys a step further. So this is in the same post.
Mm-hmm.
Deprived of positive feelings of self-worth after receiving handouts. It goes on to say that positive feelings and self-worth are necessary to function in society at full capacity.
Now, I can
Yep.
agree with that.
Yep. And that's exactly where I was going. Because if you have no self-worth, you don't know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you don't have a purpose. If you don't have a purpose, you don't have goals. If you don't have goals, that's going to bring you down. That's exactly the perspective that I'm trying to explain from my point of view. Because I don't know how a person could have any self-worth and accept all of this if they were capable of doing something different.
So you guys agree with that?
Yes.
So we're saying the welfare system deprives people of positive feelings, self-worth, which are two main things that are needed to be functioning in society at full capacity. And it also generates lack of self-esteem. We agree with that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then it says it also contributes to a lack of motivation. and it diminishes the desire to move up in
Correct.
life.
Yes.
In some cases, yes.
So the welfare system is doing this to the people that are utilizing it. Stagnation.
And I would say in the overall sense, but I wouldn't say in a blanket statement, because in the ideal, and that's why I say in the ideal, yes, that's what it does. That's what it's set up to do.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they're the people that are right, just not keeping their head above water.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't feel bad when they are still working. They got a job. They're trying to move forward. But it's just that little hand up instead of a hand out. You know, some people see it like that. But there are people across the board that are just like, yeah, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to do anything differently.
So if we were to just, before we go any further, man, to get past this point, is this intentional?
Yes.
I believe so.
The way the system's structured.
Yes.
Without the lapse of time.
Right.
Without telling you we're going to do this for you one time. But in the process of doing it, that you need to be going to school so that you can move forward up in life. No requirements.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Yes.
No education, no nothing. Here
and
you
then
go.
we teach you to stay in the system. If you go get another job, if you make this much money, then you lose this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you do this, you lose this.
Yeah.
If you go this way, then we're going to snatch this away from you. Okay.
Yeah, I said trap. Jill was talking about it last night.
Man, I'm learning.
Yes. And with that, here's our next comment. It says, it's a different in mind in education. How to thrive on what you are making. Now, that's a comment. And it's saying that, you know, and we talked about the your drive. It was just in here. Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned an incident of yourself last night. You said you didn't know anything about unemployment until somebody told you to go to the unemployment office.
Correct.
But you said when you walked in there and you felt the atmosphere and you saw the atmosphere, you knew that wasn't you.
Correct, man. And see how people are treated. And I mean, just to see, man, like defeat or acceptance. I just don't believe in that. Like, I find it hard to believe. I know people need help. I know people get in hard times. But like, for the life of me, I can't understand, like, how do you stay there? Mm-hmm. I mean, and I hear so much about the mindset, and it's because of all I've seen in life. But you know what's good, and you know what's bad. I don't have to tell you that, man. If you touch a hot stove, you're gonna get burned.
Right.
I don't have to tell you, man. If the house is pitch black and you don't know your way around, and if you don't turn the light on, you're gonna bump into something.
Right.
So I don't get it, bro. It's confusing me, so I'm learning.
Right. Yeah. And Jill, last night you said it as well, that you never have had to be in a system because of your support system and things like that.
I wouldn't even feel comfortable walking into the system had I not had a support system. I just wouldn't.
So, and that's where it is. It's to thrive. Now, understand, and that's what she mentioned, education. Not education just in school. It's also in your education and your values and your work ethic and things like that. You two were taught differently, shown differently, instructed differently. But there's some people that they're not taught. They're taught welfare. They're taught, they're instructed in welfare.
And you can't give somebody welfare without a plan. I mean, if you give somebody something, if you're giving somebody a bunch of money and you're not telling them where to spend it or what to do, I mean, what do you think happens? So there's no plan for a house in the future. There's no plan on, here's your credit score. Here's what we're going to do to raise it so that you can get a vehicle. There's no education for savings or banking. None of that is there with the welfare system, which I think is a huge, I mean, that's an issue. It's massive.
Yeah. And it's not just with the welfare system. It's about poverty in general, as we were talking
any
about.
Of it.
And we're talking about, you know, just overcoming poverty. Now, it's some people, they take the lowest of their lowest times and they use that as motivation to come up. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be in that position ever again, be it old, young, whatever. They think in their mind, I'm never going to be in this position again. Some athletes, that's why they try to go pro. Some entertainers, that's why they try to, because they come to a point, some of it is out of need. Some of them is just out of, necessity, but they want to grow. So it's in how you're taught and things such as that. But if you're not taught differently, then you're not going to do differently. So to come out of poverty, we got to teach our own, how to be self-sufficient,
Absolutely.
how to
Education.
come up. And I don't
Education.
just mean in school. We got to really tell our young people there's a better way. And not only tell them, we have to show them. We have to get out. And too many times we stay in our four walls of our businesses, our jobs, our churches. We don't go out and show how we really do it. We got to get out there and really instruct and show to educate people on how to be different.
Well, I think the welfare system should be totally accountable for that. Because of the way it's structured, if you could just walk in and get it and then stay in it, then you ought to be held accountable for doing better for yourself.
I agree.
So when we talk about the whole issue, which is the beginning of this conversation, the way the system, we talked about it last night, man, it's a trap.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trap to get people in it and keep you trapped in it. It has nothing in it to push you forward.
No.
You know, so it's all about that. Let's go to your next one, my guy.
Yeah, Jill, what's the next one? You had a question and then the response.
So, and I think we actually just covered this. We posed the question, is poverty a problem or has it simply become a way of life? And Jeff had said, I think it is a mindset that some people just simply do not know any better, which we kind of just waltzed into that discussion.
We're going to get into that another one. And we have another one because also what keeps us, a lot of us in poverty, and we're going to touch on the mindset, but I want to get to this before we get to the mindset. We spend money on more things than what we want than sometimes than what we need. And this is Veronica gave us this. If things are so bad, why do we as Black people like to spend dollars on unnecessary stuff? Designer jeans, shoes, bags, hair, nails, lashes, $50 haircuts for men, trips, new cars, casinos, and just stuff.
Good point.
That's a good point.
So it goes back, Jill, read what you read first again. Is poverty what?
Is poverty a problem or has it simply become a way of life?
So when you talk about way of life, Dr. B just kind of...
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And you got to think, we'll spend money on what we want. But what does that benefit us? We don't spend money for long term. We'll spend money for today and tomorrow. Jeans fade, they wear out. Shoes are fade, they wear out. If you're a sneakerhead, most people tell you if you wear a pair of sneakers more than a month, it's time for a new pair. I mean, those are people. So we'll spend money on what we want. But how many of us are investing?
Right. And when we talk about poverty, it's not just a lack of income. I mean, in this case, people have income, but their spending habits can put them into poverty to what they think is a poverty level. So even though you're not at the level to qualify for welfare or assistance, you're still living above your means and cannot afford things like rent or utilities because of your spending habits.
Okay, so let's answer the question. So it says, is poverty a problem or has it simply become a way of life?
Both.
It's both.
It's both.
It's both.
CSATs explain.
Well, as Jill was going to, sometimes we spend our way into poverty or we spend our way into the poverty line. Now, if I'm making $70,000 a year, but I'm living in a $400,000 house, that doesn't make much sense.
Okay.
But I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses. I got the newest car. I'm trying to make it look good. So I'm not making it. But then there's the problem where the single mother, like we were talking, she systematically, there's things that won't let her progress as much as she tried. I mean, think about it. Rent now, we talked about rent skyrocketing. She can't qualify for Section 8 because she's, making more money. And if she does qualify and she starts to make more money, want to move up, her Section 8's gone. Then the rent that she was paying about $200 now is $1,200. That's a problem.
Well, and we view poverty as a problem as a community, but do the people that are in poverty view it enough of a problem to want to change it? And I think that's something to look at too. I mean, looking at the numbers and we all talk about, who are we if we ignore the suffering of others? We say that all of the time. We are concerned about poverty and people in poverty, but the people that are in those places also have to be concerned enough, as concerned as we are.
Okay, so the next point of Jeff. Jeff says, I think it is a mindset that some people just simply don't know any better. Is that reality?
Well, yes. Yes.
That is reality.
That's reality.
So it is a mindset issue.
No, it's some people just don't know better.
Okay, so is that attached to the mindset? Because we hear people utilize that an awful lot, talking
Well-
about it's a mindset thing. The mindset needs to change.
Well, and that's true. But can we use your mindset as an excuse? Think about it. Your mindset often change, or it should change. With a changed mindset, there comes growth. So think about it. If I still lived my life thinking like a 5-year-old, and I'm 45, that's a problem. There's been no growth in my whole life.
You want some cookies and milk?
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm still living that life. So my mindset, when I reached 6 even, I didn't have to reach 10, but when I reached 6, I had a different mindset than I was at 5.
Correct.
Because I learned something different. I saw something different. So we can't continue to say the mindset of our ancestors, because they didn't have the opportunities, they didn't have the ways, they didn't have the means. But if we still going to use that today, in some cases, it's true. There's some systematic things, but you can always find a way around something if you want it bad enough.
Okay, Jill.
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned growth, because when I think of that, there's a fixed mindset where somebody feels like if they weren't born knowing how to play basketball, that they'll never be a basketball star. So they stay where they're at.
That's true.
Then you have the growth mindset, who's somebody who knows I can be really good at basketball if I get out there and practice every single day, and I'm going to learn to do this and that. That is a growth mindset. Both of those people start out at the same place and can be a professional basketball player. One of them doesn't believe that will ever happen. The other one does everything they can to make sure that it will. So I do agree that it is a mindset issue.
Well-
Also, if you look at the single mother that we keep referencing, if you watched how grandma did it and then how mom did it and then what else have you seen? What else have you seen?
Yeah.
So what else do you know? So yeah, people don't know better.
Well, and I only got to counter your point because I can't play basketball to save my life. Have I ever practiced to try to play basketball? Yes. I just can't do it.
Then you didn't practice enough.
No, I practice enough. I just don't have the skills, and I don't have. So what I'm saying is there are certain.
Can you dance?
Yes, I can dance.
You got rhythm.
Get
Yes.
up.
I just can't dribble a ball.
Okay.
I really can't, and it's bad. I can't. My shooting's even worse, but we're not gonna go on that. I just can't play back. But what I'm saying is, there's some people that have deficiencies, and for those people, there should be exceptions. And that's the people that I'm saying that they will never grow out of poverty because they don't have the fortitude. They don't have the proper skills. I mean, there's a deficiency, be it mental, be it physical, be it something that they can't get past.
So they have a true dependence.
They have a true dependence.
So they have a true dependence.
Yes.
Okay. So reality is that it's choice. If you grew up in the house, man, because I hear so much stuff, man. I think a lot of times to me,
Mm-hmm.
and you could call me cold-hearted, but really I don't get it. I don't understand. If you grew up in the house, man, and you grew up in the house and your parents never said, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
You never got hugged.
Right.
Does that mean that when you grow up and you have your own kids that you don't tell your kids that you love them and you give them a hug?
No.
Does that mean that?
No, it doesn't mean that.
Because somewhere in your mind, something tells you that when I grow up, I'm going to make sure I tell my kids I love them.
Right.
I'm going to make sure I give my kids a hug.
Right.
If I grew up in the house where I saw my daddy not working and I saw my mom struggling
Mm-hmm.
and she had to go get food stamps, she had to do whatever she needed to do that we survived. In my mind, it just simply means to me like, man, I don't want to grow up and be hungry.
I feel you.
Whatever it takes
I feel you.
to not live like this, to do better.
Right.
So I hear all of the sides. To me, I still don't get it, but I respect it. A true dependence, I get it. But if you don't have a true dependence, the system is the crutch. I think the system, some people say broken, some people say working exactly the way they intended to be. But the word that we used yesterday, man, that is so strong and stays with me, that this system is a trap
Mm-hmm.
to keep certain people in a certain space.
Right. But in the flip side of that, James, too, some people learn how to work and hustle the system. It's their hustle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a dependency. It's a hustle. And they, so the system does need to be revamped. And I agree. There should be term limits. There should be incentives to move people off. I know I said during the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
they normally make people do job searches, but all of that was suspended. And it's going to be a while before we get back to, making people job search for food stamps or doing different things. It's just a cycle. But when you just allow people to be dependent, then they are going to be dependent.
Reality. It's intentional.
Yes.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Let's go to some numbers, man, to
Mhm.
explain how many people from an ethnic stands utilize the system.
Yeah. This is from a recent census. It says the U.S., the highest poverty rates by race is found among Native Americans at 25%. Then you have blacks as 21%, having the second highest poverty rate. Hispanics of any race having a highest poverty rate of 17, almost 18%. Whites had a poverty rate of 10.1%, and Asians as well had a poverty rate of 10.1%. This article is from USA Today. Now, here's the thing. Numbers, first of all, numbers don't lie. But it's dependent on who's telling you the numbers and where the numbers are coming from. Now, 21% of black people being in poverty. That's a high percentage, correct?
Yes, it is.
But how many black people are in America?
So if we break it down by population, just in general, 204.3 million white people. This is according to the U.S. Census of 2021. 50.5 million Hispanic people. 41.1 million black people. 3.7 million Native people. And 19.9 million Asian people. So again, 204.3 million for the white population, 41.1 million for the black population.
Now, legitimately, let's think about, and we got to get past black and white because that's something we need to get past, but I don't think we ever will. But if we look at the numbers, 10%, I'm going to be
Did you hear what you
You're
just
just being-
said?
Yeah. I don't think we're ever going to get past it. We need to, but I don't think we ever will because that's always going to be an issue. But here's what I'm saying. At 10% of 204 million people,
Mm-hmm.
that's 20 million people. That's more than half the black people in America.
Correct.
So who by actual numbers or people are in more poverty?
And I think it's a numbers game, really, because you have so many more. I mean, the population of white people is 2-point-something million, I think,
Right.
by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a numbers game, man, and it don't make sense. I'll tell you one thing that stands out to me more than anything,
Mm-hmm.
and forget about welfare just for a second. This is America, right?
Yes.
How in the world can any one of you guys explain to me how is there more Hispanics than black people in America?
Well, that's simple. You know, in the census, they don't count incarcerated individuals, right?
I know this.
Yeah. So we're 14% of the population, but we're 90% of the prison population.
So a lot of brothers been removed
Yes.
from.
From society.
So when we talk about welfare,
Mm-hmm.
everything in America is intentional.
Yeah.
So race does not matter. We talked about that last night.
Exactly.
We as a people, we as an American people need to realize that and begin to do what?
We need to come together and we need to look at and realize that the government, I don't care if you're not in that upper 1%, you don't matter to the government. You don't. So I don't care if you're a millionaire white
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just a blue collar black worker. In the grand scheme of things, they look at us the same.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They do. They see us
The same spec. That's basically all it is.
So it's about time for us to get out of here, I'm pretty
Yes.
sure. So the biggest reason why we had this conversation was to bring awareness to the welfare system, to encourage people to do better for themselves. The system is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
You know what I'm
For
saying?
those
It's
who need it.
needed to help those that really have those dependencies. But there's one thing we talked about tonight before we came on air, and that was that there's a guy that we talked to the other day, was a while ago. He's one of the guys that hangs out over on Lewis and Hannah Street on the lot.
Yeah.
One of the drinkers, right? And so it's about to get, well, it is cold outside right now.
It's cold
right?
outside.
So the
right
question was asked, man, what do you do when it gets freezing cold outside?
now. Yeah.
This is the power of the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So people are totally aware of how they move.
It's a choice.
This guy's response was, I'm going to go commit a crime
It's going to give me 90 days.
that's going to give me
90
Food,
days.
blankets.
4 months in jail.
Uh-huh.
That's his response.
Right.
He said, I know I'm going to get 3 meals and I'm going to get somewhere to lay my head.
And I ain't going to be
I'm
outside
gonna be
the
out of the
cold.
weather. If you know the system, you do what?
You work it.
You
You hustle
use
it.
the system.
Yeah.
So that's why we had this conversation tonight. We definitely want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is Neutral Voices. Your voice always matters. If you have not joined our social media platforms, which will be our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, we all over the place. We'll be moving forward here real soon. We're going to start to add and give away some prizes, some gifts. We got a 55-inch TV, man, that we're about to put on the set and begin to raffle it off. But you got to play the trivia game that we're going to be bringing to the front. So we're just putting that out right now, doing a little advertisement. So we're about to leave you. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you on the next episode of Neutral Voices, where your voice matters. Peace.
Chase 4-5 is the freeway, slanging my, banging my, swinging my coupe, DeVille scoop.